This is J.G. Hertzner. You're listening to NX 7062 Podcast.
Yes, you are listening to the NX 7062 Podcast, and I'm your host, Stephanie K. Thank you all so much for joining me once again on a Monday evening. And you know what? Honestly, I was a little worried. We had some thunderstorm warnings and watches roaming around the area, and I was just wondering if I was going to have to compete with the god of thunder, Thor himself, just to get on the air with you guys. But here I am. The storms have passed. It's just wet and miserable out now. But in here, it's warm and toasty. And there was a cat at some point right before I went on. It might have even been Reed, who I guess has decided to make a couple of appearances now. But I don't know. I guess we'll find out if he decides to poke his nose in a little later. Oh, see, I'm seeing all this stuff. Oh, it's my NX. It's just weird still, even though I've been doing this for a while, to look on camera and see stuff and just wonder, like, what the hell is that? That is my NX7, and it's my NX01, my little Christmas ornament, which still hasn't found its way back downstairs. In fact, there's a little mark on the, in the dust, because I'm a terrible housekeeper, on the table where it usually sits, and it and its little ISS counterpart do need to go back downstairs at some point. It'll happen, but I kind of like having them up here too. Anyway, so what is on the agenda for tonight? Well, I was, in full disclosure, the reason it took me so long to even say that we're just going to sit here and yap about Star Trek, the reason it took me so long just to do that was because I was trying to line up a guest for tonight. It didn't work. Maybe I'll shoot for next week. There's only a couple more weeks left. Oh, what was that? There's only a couple more weeks left before I go on my summer vacation. Hello, Robert. Hello, War Dog. So nice of you guys to come hang out with me tonight. Always love to see you guys hang in here. Hope things are good out in Montana, and Robert down south. Hope everything's going well for you guys. Anyway, as usual, my train of thought derailed a little bit. Oh yeah, so I've only got a couple more shows before we go on hiatus. But y'all know once that happens, I start planning. Hey, Travis! I start planning for next year, and I start looking forward to Vegas. So again, if you guys have questions for anybody that's going to be at Vegas, they're up to 99 guests. That's right, because this is the 7th Roll After Party. So War Dog, you have got both one foot in the 7th Rule and one foot in the After Party, and eventually I know you're just going to bop right over here full time as soon as they wrap up, which I think is in about 18 minutes or so. They go to about 20 after the hour. Hello, Jean. Oh my gosh, good to see you, my friend. Thanks so much for popping in. Always glad to see old friends pop in to say hi. I know Jean's been busy with his channel, so please, to anybody out there that has yet to subscribe and support, please go and subscribe to Jean's channel. It's new, and I know he could use all the all the support he can get. Yes, be thinking of a good question for Nicole. And it's funny that you should mention Nicole, Travis. I was just thinking about her because in my weekend's worth of what to watch, I don't feel like watching this. I stumbled across the fact that the Kids in the Hall, the new Kids in the Hall. That's right. They are back. Canada's answer to Monty Python. They're back with all the original members, including Dave Foley, who I absolutely adore. They're back. And for those of you that don't know, maybe haven't watched the last Vegas interview I did with Nicole, she was actually in their movie Brain Candy, which was actually in the opening bit they did to kick off this new show that they've got going, which is basically them doing the same cool stuff as they did before, just all modernized. But they did mention Brain Candy in the beginning, and I thought, oh wait, that was the one that Nicole was in. So it's on Amazon Prime, and if you like Monty Python and Monty Python-esque type sketch comedy, then you will 100% absolutely enjoy Kids in the Hall, and you should check it out. I'm not sure now if because Amazon now is running the new, if they're ever going to get the old stuff, because the old stuff, I have not had any luck finding it streaming anywhere. So, War Dog, they were so bizarre back in the day. which is probably one of the best ways to watch them, a little chemically altered. I watched them straight because I didn't get into chemically altering until recently, but straight or altered, Kids in the Hall is a great laugh. I saw that happy 3-year-old me. Oh, you're dating yourself there, Travis, making me feel old. But yes, they're back, and it's still amazingly funny. And they've got themselves on Amazon, which means they are totally free to be a little more body, let's say. I don't want to spoil anything, but they're totally free to be a little more body than when they were back on network television. Enjoying Strange New Worlds so far. It's the true spirit of the original Trek. It is, absolutely, and we will be talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds in just a couple of minutes. Wanted to talk about some other stuff that's been happening, like the Voyager documentary. They have been doing the high-end perks. They just, again, speaking of Nicole, because she posted this on her Twitter, they did the dinner, which is the one perk I really wanted. If I had, a couple $1,000s to throw the Voyager documentary, this is the perk I would have shot for. Dinner. Nicole DeBoer was there. Connor was there. Dominic was there. I think Garrett was there. That's what's amazing about the Star Trek family is this is the Voyager documentary that they were raising money for, but that everybody from all walks of Trek life came together to offer themselves up as perks. The other perk that they did was the walk through Vasquez Rocks. I thought Chase was going to be on that. I did not see. I saw Garrett in some of the pictures, and he was tagged. I don't know. Chase has had such a busy schedule with pop culture and all the amazing programming that they've got going on that I don't know. Maybe she wasn't able to make the Vasquez climb. But anyway, so just be on the lookout if you want to live vicariously through the people that did spend thousands of dollars to support the documentary. I'm still waiting on my coffee t-shirt, to be honest, the coffee replicator t-shirt. But I know that has gotten postponed because supply chain, and it is not out yet, Jean. They are still in the process of filming it. The perks that they've been doing, this is them fulfilling all of their fundraising promises. People that gave, I think $1,000 or something along those lines. There were perks. There was dinner with some Star Trek celebrities. There was a hike to Vasquez Rocks with Sirach Lofton and Garrett Wang and a couple of other people, and Ryan T. Husk, who is working on the documentary. So as soon as I have information on release dates, and where to purchase and or stream it, that I will be doing that, because again, 7th Rule after party. I'm sure the 7th Rule will have the information before I do, but being the supporter that I am, I will also be releasing that information, even if it is just a quick little Twitter share. So for those of you that have seen Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse, I finally saw it on Saturday, and that's a week after it was released, which isn't terrible. And this is kind of sort of a spoiler, and it kind of sort of came to me through Lasso, but it's something that I think is going to be cool if you guys know it before you see it, or if you saw it and didn't realize it, then it's going to be cool regardless. But they have the Illuminati. There's no secret that there's an Illuminati because it's mentioned in the previews. There's no secret that Professor X is part of the Illuminati because that was also mentioned in the previews. But what was not mentioned in any of the trailers was that Black Bolt was also there, but he was wearing a complete face hood, so that about this much of his face showed. Now, for those of you that don't know who Black Bolt is, and honestly, I did not know who Black Bolt was until Marvel's The Inhumans debuted. It ran for exactly a season. It was fabulous. It was the first place I ever saw Anson Mount. And Anson Mount played Black Bolt, who could not speak because when he opened his mouth, he admitted this disintegrate, the sound waves that came out of his mouth, it could absolutely dissolve people. I mean, he was deadly. So for this is one of the things I said in the first podcast that I had. I think it was the first or second podcast I had Christopher Hunter on. I talked about how excited I was to actually hear Anson Mount speak, because the only time I ever saw him was as Black Bolt in Inhumans, and he was so wonderful being emotive with just sign language and facial expressions. I couldn't wait to see what he did when he actually opened his mouth. Anyway, point being, that's a long road to get to the fact that shriek. Yeah, that's actually a better word. That's a better word for it when it's a shriek when he opens his mouth. But anyway, point being, Anson Mount is Black Bolt in the movie. Behind a mask. Don't know. Magic Lasso told me. I was wondering about that myself. So I just thought that was cool, because then you've got Captain Pike and Captain Picard in the Marvel Universe. They're part of the Illuminati. And that is all I'm going to say about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, except one other thing. If you have not seen WandaVision, and I know this isn't technically Star Trek related, but if you have not seen WandaVision, you will not understand the basic premise of this movie. You have to have seen WandaVision. I saw What If just to get a grab. I mean, I watched What If because I watch all the Marvel stuff. I have Disney Plus. I watch all the Marvel stuff. And What If is amazing. It's they do these cartoon episodes of the multiverse, which made it very easy for them to continue this multiverse discussion. It's actually the last performances of Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther. So every time I see it, I get emotional. And it's really great. And you should watch them as well to kind of get a handle on the multiverse. But definitely, you absolutely 100% will have had to have watched WandaVision from beginning to end in order to understand the movie. To fully understand the movie. Haven't seen Doctor Strange, Morbius. I really want to see Morbius as well. Because again, just Marvel's got it nailed. You basically have to be up on pretty much everything to understand everything else in the Marvel Universe. But my sister's friend went and saw it with her. My sister's friend thought that it ruined Doctor Strange was terrible and it ruined the Marvel Universe. And I have a feeling that she hasn't seen anything outside of the movies, because you wouldn't have that reaction if you actually were aware of what happened in WandaVision. And WandaVision's amazing. I mean, even if you didn't need to see it for this movie, it's still amazing. Back to Star Trek. I myself, after warning everybody about going down rabbit holes and engaging gatekeepers, you know what? And that I will get back to gatekeeping in a second. Honestly, that can help. That also helps with Stephen King. If you don't read a Stephen King book, chances are you're going to enjoy a Stephen King movie better, because I have yet to see a book, except for The Green Mile. Misery was pretty good. But 9 times out of 10, when they translate a Stephen King book into a movie, even when Stephen King's involved, it's never as good as the book. That includes fucking It. It on TV was, the original miniseries had its hands tied because it was a TV miniseries based on, of all things, a Stephen King novel. The new movies just went berserk and just didn't feel like the book at all. So yeah, there are definitely some times when not having read the literature, whether it be a comic book or a novel, and then seeing the movie actually might help. So thank you for that, John. So I did actually go down a rabbit hole. I couldn't help it. There's a Star Trek The Original Series, the one and only Timeline Facebook group. So if that doesn't tell you that there's gatekeepers in there, I don't know what will. Just because these are the types of groups, they ask you those questions. If you like to join a group, answer the questions. And if you don't answer the questions right, they may not actually let you join. I've actually had that happen. I was denied entry into a Star Trek group because it said that I was okay with the J.J. Abrams movies. Kid you not. Which is fine. If you don't want me for that reason, then I don't need to be a part of your Star Trek group. And in fact, in this Facebook discussion that I had on Sunday, yeah, it was yesterday, somebody actually used the words that offends real Trekkies. And I had to sit on my hands because the only reason over the weekend I would like to share, I just don't know how to handle it. Travis, I'm going to talk, you share, and we will absolutely cover it when you when you share it with the group. We can actually absolutely discuss it. I don't have a problem with that. Sometimes this podcast turns into mini therapy sessions, and I'm good with that. So, where was I? My brain. Okay. So what happened was somebody was posting a complaint about Strange New Worlds and how they have this thing. The original post was they have this thing called continuity departments, and the continuity department isn't doing its job because they don't think Strange New Worlds lines up with Star Trek, because that's that close to Star Trek, and they don't think it lines up with TOS, and they're blaming the continuity department. Oh, Lasso, that is totally okay. Happens to the best of us. You're here, and that's what's important. Thanks for dropping in, Lasso. And they were blaming the continuity department. And I, as somebody who knows what a continuity department is, because I have dealt with the continuity department on a set, couldn't help but correct them. Because a continuity department is not in charge of checking in on the 50 years worth of storytelling that is Star Trek. A continuity department, and this is what I said in the post, continuity department is, okay, well, you wore that purple tie for this scene today, and we're doing this next scene tomorrow, and you're supposed to be in the same clothes, so you better damn well be wearing that same purple tie. That's what a continuity department does. And I know this because even when you work background on any set, whatever you are wearing, they take a picture of you. Because if they have you come back the next day, and it's for the same scene or the scene on the same day where you need to be in the same outfit, your makeup, your nails, everything has to be the same. Because obviously it can't look like a day has passed if in the movie or the show or whatever it is you're doing, only 10 minutes have passed. That is the responsibility of a continuity department. It is not the responsibility of a continuity department to go, oh my God, Kirk would never have said this in TOS, or Captain Pike would never have said that in the cage, so he can't say it in Strange New Worlds. That is not, well, yeah, but to be honest, that nobody, the books are not canon. In the Star Trek universe, it has been said many times the books are not canon. So the paperbacks, the books can get away with a lot more than anything that's on screen can, because on screen it's assumed that it's canon. So that is the only reason I commented, because I couldn't stand that this person didn't know what they were talking about when they were talking about something factual, which is a continuity department. And then, of course, people were saying this, that, and I'm like, I'm not here to debate opinions, which I didn't agree with anybody's opinion. I didn't care for somebody saying, well, real Trekkers care about continuity. That continuity, the continuity in story, is not what a continuity department's for. And I'm like, that's all I'm saying. The purple tie thing is what the continuity department's for. The continuity you're talking about is the showrunners and the writers and the producers and all the people that are in charge of that you are allowed to have a problem with if you so choose. But the continuity department is not in charge of going, oh my God, the Enterprise that you're shooting now doesn't look like the one from 1966. And it's not contiguous. That's not their responsibility. I couldn't help it. And I literally, all I said was, because this one guy over and over and over again, I'm like, I get what you're saying. You're not happy with Strange New Worlds because you don't think it's being true to Star Trek because it's only a few years behind Captain Kirk taking over the Enterprise. So you don't feel that it's what it's supposed to be. Then tweet at the people that are writing it and tweet at the showrunners, but don't say your continuity department sucks, because then you're going to look like an idiot, because that's not what a continuity department does. Anyway, so that's the rabbit hole I went down yesterday. I absolutely couldn't help it. This week's episode of Strange New Worlds, by the way, we can move on to that. Travis, whenever you feel like sharing, you know I'm going to interrupt myself, so don't worry. This kind of had a very enterprisey feel to it. They were landing on a comet, which turned out not to be a comet. Oh, here we go. All right, Travis, what do we got? George Takei, one of your favorite people, posted a screenshot from a new article titled "Star Trek Goes Woke" on the bridge of the Enterprise. Oh, yeah, I've been seeing stuff around about that. First of all, it's Fox News, and I have no love of Fox News. And second of all, it's basically Fox News doesn't know what. Oh, sorry, guys. Fox News does not know what the fuck they're talking about, because they don't get that there are people that never actually sat down and watched the original series. And there's actually a really great meme from Let This Be Our Last Battlefield about how, no, Star Trek's never tackled political commentary or racial commentary. Just because Kirk and Uhura kissed and it got Star Trek banned in the Bible Belt that particular episode, and they talked about racial equality, and they talked about colonialism and non-interference. George I think he was just bringing to light the ignorance of Fox News, because Fox News for some reason has decided that now that Discovery has LGBTQ characters, or Strange New Worlds, and I'm not even sure where they think Strange New Worlds, why? Because the first officer's a woman. She wasn't a woman back in the cage. They just, Gene changed his mind when he did Where No Man Has Gone Before. There is diversity on the bridge. There was always diversity on the bridge. The problem is that these Fox idiots don't realize that diversity on the bridge in 1966 was a Russian, an Asian, an alien, and a black woman. That's diversity for 1966. So now, ahead for 2022, that's not diversity anymore. Yes, absolutely, John. She did become Nurse Chapel. That is exactly what happened. They moved Majel from number 1 to number 1 nurse for whatever reason Gene had at the time. Maybe he thought having the woman number 1 was part of the problem in getting it sold. And that, having Uhura was, putting Uhura as a lieutenant, not the first officer, but still a black woman as an officer on the bridge. So yeah, Fox News are a bunch of idiots, and they don't understand that they're looking at Star Trek, the original Star Trek, through the eyes of the 2000s. And if you've never watched it before, then yeah, it probably looks kind of mild. But Star Trek has always been a show and a series that deals with current events and holds a microscope up to society. And that is what George was talking about. And he was just basically showing that he's showing people that Fox are a bunch of idiots. And that has been spread around, and I hope that answers your question. And I know woke has also become kind of a negative term. I'm not sure if it was however positive it really was. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the term woke, because I think now, even though it hasn't even been a thing that long, like the term hasn't been around that long, I just feel like somehow it has some negative connotations I felt like it started out just being people, opening their eyes to actually seeing what's going on in the world. And I think it's kind of gotten, mutated, I guess, or twisted from there. Anyway, Travis, I hope that answered what you were looking for. If not, please continue. It's what we're here for. That's why I always say in every one of my posts, join the conversation. But I did think that this Strange New World had an Enterprise feel, because I thought it was going to be more about, we're walking on a comet, which, remember, Travis walked on the comet with Reed, and they built a little snowman with the pointy ears, even though the Vulcans were watching. But it was actually more along the lines of, and I actually wrote it down, Chosen Realm, season 3, episode 12, where the people that worshipped the spheres showed up and took over Archer's ship, which was actually more of a Let This Be Our Last Battlefield. So now Strange New Worlds kind of pulls in Chosen Realm, but the ending was a lot better than Chosen Realm. But I mean, they even used, you've been on our comet, and that's heresy or blasphemy, or however they put it. And all I could think of is that whole thing where they were pissed with Archer because they had actually infiltrated 2 spheres. Literally the same thing. But this was actually focusing, hello, Comic Collector. Thanks so much for joining us. Always good to see new faces. Thanks. What is up is we're talking right now about Strange New Worlds and the 2nd episode. And obviously, y'all know I do not have a problem if the show has an Enterprise feel to it. But it was focusing on Cadet. See, it was focusing on Cadet Uhura and giving her a backstory that we never got. I don't really think we ever got to really know Uhura because she never really had much of a story in the original series. Oh, well, that is excellent. Is that your is that the first, is that your first exposure to Trek? You're doing season, you're doing Next Gen. This is your first watch of Next Gen. And then you're going to move, hopefully you'll move into Deep Space Nine and Voyager and my personal favorite, Enterprise. Episode 2. Was that the Naked Time, Naked Now? I never remember which one was TOS and which was Next Gen. But wasn't the second episode the naked one where they were all going a little bit crazy because they had that virus and the whole thing with Data being fully functional? Which was actually one of the best episodes of the first season. But I liked getting this backstory on Uhura. I like when you get, and I like that she had the same kind of Hoshi insecurities. You know, she's a prodigy like Hoshi was. She was a linguistic genius. But she wasn't sure if Starfleet was for her. And I love that self-doubt because not every cadet is gung-ho, you know. Not everybody knows, you know, they have all their, like he said, everybody has different reasons for joining Starfleet. Hers was motivated by this loyalty to her family. Okay, we're switching now. Watched as a kid, first time as an adult, watching Next Gen. Gotcha. All right, I'm catching up, and now you're talking about episode. It was really great. I love how in this episode is like there were only 2 episodes in, and they are not that great at first contact. They pissed off this group, this religious group in the first, you know, and they almost started a war in the first. Yeah, so I love that. I love the stumbly episodes. I love the non-polished episodes. I love the stumbly episodes. I think those build character and let you get a feel for the characters better than when they're perfect and polished, which again is why I love Enterprise so much. It's why I love this episode, to see that Uhura had such doubts. And of course, Spock. I think Ethan is amazing as Spock. Let's see. Nurse Chapel's going to have a more obvious thing for Spock in Strange New Worlds. I think so too. I liked the way Nurse Chapel played it. But again, 1966 sensibilities, I think, played a lot into how they wrote Chapel's crush on Spock, as opposed to, you know, the sensibilities now. They couldn't have gotten away with an overly flirtatious Nurse Chapel in 1966. So you kind of have to play the hand you're dealt. So yeah, they modernized Nurse Chapel, but Amok Time, I still loved it when she took him the homemade Fulmeek soup, because she could do that, and that was kind of showing, you know, it's like the little things that she was doing for him were showing, not the out and out flirtatious things that Chapel's doing now. So I do think that that's interesting. I love that the asteroid just might have been what the aliens said it was. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Episode 2 was great. Yep, sorry, I already clicked on that one. Yeah, I thought it was great. I think they're off to a fantastic start. I think, you know, even though this is all episodic, I think obviously what's going to be running, the theme that is going to be running through this whole first season is Pike coming to grips with the future that he saw. So, which is understandable, which this is supposed to be prime timeline. This is supposed to happen to Captain Pike. It's supposed to be a fixed point. So the question, I guess, becomes, are they going to retcon the whole thing? Or are we looking at them actually, maybe that's how they're going to finish, you know, whenever, like, they're going to get it, they're going to keep getting us to that point, and then when it's time for Strange New Worlds to wrap, however many seasons that's going to be, if they're going to end it with, you know, they have that out, like, that could be their last episode. Which actually goes back to the Shuttle Pod Show with Rick Berman. because I said this last week, if you want to know why These Are the Voyages exists, it actually has to do with how they were planning on wrapping up Enterprise if they had gotten their 7 seasons that they were planning on. It's like, this is how it was supposed to end. It was just not supposed to end for 3 more years. So again, I understand now why they did what they did. I still don't like it. This week's Shuttle Pod show I loved because we finally got the second part, and I guess there's even more to this because this is all just Dominic pre-Enterprise. But we got the second part of the Dominic Keating before Enterprise life story. And now for anybody that's interested, we all know how he likes his tea because they did 2 fan questions and that was the first one. How do you like his tea? Of course, I loved the fact that he talked about Desmond's because you guys all know I have been talking about Desmond's probably more than you guys care to hear, but I don't care. Desmond's is amazing. It is a great British comedy. It was a barrier breaker for its day. It was the first pretty much all black comedy on the BBC. Dominic and one other actor on the show were 2 out of the 3 white people on the show. Dominic mentioned this. I think he forgot because he never went to the bank. But the main character, Desmond, his oldest son, he ended up being a bank manager, and his secretary was white. But besides Mandy and Dominic, and then the friend was gone after season 2, I think. So, and then it was just Dominic and Mandy. So they were the minority, and it was such a great show. And I've told Dominic this. I don't just watch it because he's in it. I watch it because it's a good show. Dominic actually mentioned he screwed it up. He said it was available on Netflix. It's not. It's available on Amazon Prime. And what he said was, somebody told me that it's available on Netflix. Could have been me, because I told him when I saw him in LA. By the way, Desmond's made it to Amazon Prime. So he knew because I told him that it was on a streaming service. Was it somebody else that might have told him? Maybe, but I'm taking credit for it because I did tell him when I saw him in LA that it is now streaming because this is how it started. I own the first 4 seasons, but Desmond's was 6, and you couldn't get the last 2 seasons on DVD. Well, now Amazon is streaming them. So like I said, and I'm also a fan of following my favorite Star Trek actors onto other shows. I've seen Connor in The Purge, seen Dominic in Desmond's, which I adore. Anson Mount. Well, Anson Mount, I found him in Inhumans, and now I'm watching him in Strange New Worlds, so that's actually flipped. But I never did much T.J. Hooker. I was never that into T.J. Hooker, but I did love In Search Of. And Leonard Nimoy actually really made that interesting for me. Those old In Search Of. And there was rumors going around that Zachary Quinto was picking up the In Search Of mantle. I don't know if that's still happening or not. I am watching a lot more Night Court now, and John Larroquette, who played Maltz in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, is in that, and he is in the Night Court reboot, which NBC is going to be premiering in their 2020 to 2023 season. I'm really excited to see the Night Court redo. Here's something else that's interesting that Dominic mentioned, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's right, or and I only have half the story, or if he misspoke. Hey, Linda. No, I have not watched Hell on Wheels. Chris Hunter, who was here last week, loves that show. He loves Hell on Wheels. He thinks it's great. I have not seen it. I might have to look it up, though. You're absolutely right. I might have to look it up. Dominic also talked about how he got his Vidal Sassoon commercial. If you don't look good, we don't look good. The Vidal Sassoon people loved him. And it's funny because he got that while he was playing a hairdresser on Desmond's, and then he was playing a hairdresser doing the Vidal thing. And before he got Desmond's, he was playing a hairdresser in a play. But he said that Dana Carvey parodied him on Saturday Night Live. I was able to find that this is a while ago, and it took a lot because I couldn't get it until I VPN'd and said my computer was in England. But I've seen a David Spade Vidal Sassoon parody where David says salon the same way that Dominic did. That was the big thing. He put the accent on a different syllable. So I don't know if Dana did one too, or if Dominic said Dana, but it was really David Spade, the two Ds. Entirely possible. It could be both. But I've only ever seen David Spade do it, and I did try to see if I could find anything with Dana Carvey, but YouTube and Google were actually of no help. So what else happened? Connor's reactions. This is what's great, is that Connor and Dominic have been friends for forever since the show. But the looks on Connor's face is because he's never sat down and heard these stories the way Dominic was telling them this time around. Some of them he knew, some of them he didn't quite know in the same detail. So it's kind of neat to watch Connor learn more about somebody that he's been so close with for so long. So that was kind of cool. The other thing that was cool was at one point, Dominic, okay, Hell on Wheels is an absolute must-watch. Oh, well, Cole Meany's in it too. There you go. Now that is a definite. I mean, I love Colm. I've seen Colm in a lot of other things. Colm's one of those faces that just seems to pop up. He was a pilot in Die Hard 2. Didn't last very long. For anybody that ever remembers that one, that's the one where the airport got taken over. But I've met Colm Meaney very briefly a million years ago, back when autographs were free. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt. I might as well tell the story. Okay. So I've mentioned before that the painting or the lithograph, Death Star Rising, has been my white whale ever since I saw it back in the 90s at a convention in New York City. And flash forward a couple million years, and the guy I was dating got me what is Death Star Rising on a t-shirt for a Valentine's present without even knowing that that's what it was, but I knew it the minute that I saw it. So this is probably one of my favorite t-shirts. Anyway, how does Colm Meaney figure into this story? Well, one of the reasons that Death Star Rising was a white whale was, at the time, the original lithographs were only like 600 of them, and they were like $600-something. But you could put them on layaway for $50 at the convention. I didn't have $50. I wasn't doing it. I just drooled. So my friend's girl, we were all in line to see Colm Meaney. I have his autograph somewhere. My friend's girlfriend was getting it for her niece, and they were going up and down the line saying no personalizations. Because back in the day when autographs were free, these poor celebrities sat, hours on end and such. So they didn't really want to hold up the line with him asking, because this was way before anybody thought, put a name on a sticky note and then they can just rewrite it. Anyway, so so my friend's girlfriend kept saying that she was getting this for her niece and she wanted to get her niece's name on it. And I kept saying, have you heard? They're sitting there saying no personalizations, no personalizations. So we ended up making a bet. The bet was, if she could get Colm to personalize it, I would find $50 and put a down payment on the picture. She actually got Colm to personalize it because Colm's a very nice guy. So Colm personalized it. I borrowed $50. That I never saw the $50 again. Never finished paying for the picture. And now I've just got the poster size of it from Lightspeed that I ordered and got when I was in Vegas. So I finally have it in my collection. But you said Colm, I'm wearing my Death Star Rising shirt. I had to tell the story because I will bring Star Wars into a Star Trek conversation. What else? I thought Dominic was an amazing storyteller. It's so fun to watch him, especially when he switches into an American accent. When he's quoting somebody that's American, he switches into an American accent, which I thought was great. And then what was really funny was at the end, they did a How Well Does Connor Know Dominic trivia, because they're famous for trivia. So they did this How Well Does Connor Know Dominic trivia, which was really cute. I just hope Dominic has never used his middle name or the names of his pets for any of his passwords, because those were two of the questions. And I actually knew his cats' names because we've actually talked about his cats at conventions because Elliot used to have a penchant for getting out. And in the Hollywood Hills, you don't want a cat loose because coyotes. In fact, he told a story about how one night he came home and he saw a coyote running across the street, like right in front of his car with a cat in its mouth. So when Elliot used to get out, he used to get really upset because when he was in New York for Star Trek Missions New York, his cat got out, and he was not happy about it. And I understand that. I would never want to be thrown away. I used to hate that when I had a dog. I hated going anywhere. I mean, he stayed with my parents, but I would always worry about him. So anyway, so it turns out that this is going to be an ongoing series, because I guess now we're going to do the Enterprise years and then the post-Enterprise years. And hopefully eventually they'll get back around to Connor. What's really funny is, for those of you that watch, you know that I did a Connor Trenier profile show where I just talked about, some stuff you might not have known about Connor, things that he did pre-Enterprise. I was able to dig up his first ever commercial. And there are still some really good Dominic commercials that are out there that you guys probably haven't seen, that I've just stumbled across or people have shared. But I was going to do something like that. I was planning on doing something like that for other Star Trek celebrities that I knew. And Dominic was on the list, but now Shuttle Pod shows beat me to it, so Philly on them. But Travis, Nicole is on that list. I am thinking about doing a Nicole DeBoer profile. Again, just so I don't confuse people, that does not mean the person's going to be on the show. That's just going to mean I'm going to do like a little biopic kind of, this is their life kind of thing. So you guys can get to know them better, because as I have said many times on this program, it isn't just about the Star Trek. I love sharing the actors with you guys and sharing other things that they've done so that maybe you can support them in other projects. Gates McFadden is an incredible thespian, and she is doing so many things, and she's got a Twitter account called Gates Plays that you should all be following just to find out all this amazing stuff she did when I went on the cruise in 2019. It was basically the preview for her one-woman show, which was fantastic. One of the other things I love about Gates is she's fluent in French. My French sucks, but I can speak it in a pinch if I absolutely have to. And I like speaking French, and I like listening to people speak French, so I love the fact that Gates speaks French. I might have mentioned this the one time that she was in Ticonderoga, and we all got to do this little press thing. Everybody that was press got to be in the sick bay in Ticonderoga. We got to be in McCoy's sick bay with her, and everybody got one question, and the Canadian podcast or radio or whatever it was, the Canadian guys asked her a question, and she gave the entire answer in French, and the smart ones of us had our recorders on the entire time so that we didn't just get our questions, we got everybody else's questions. So when I introduced that on the podcast, it was everybody's questions, including the French one, which I was able to translate her answer for everybody. That was kind of fun. Or at least it was fun for me. I don't know if it was fun for the guys and everybody else out there that had to sit through the entire French thing, but it was fun for me, and it's my show, so that's what matters. Anyway, so we were just chatting about Trek. Travis, I hope that I helped kind of clarify what George was doing. And I hope that, again, I'm all about do as I say, not as I do, because like I said, I went down the rabbit hole, but it was more about the technical issues of the continuity department as opposed to you're all entirely wrong. Okay. Hey, Travis. That's why it made me mad, because Star Trek has always been ethical, so I just don't understand why they're attacking it because Stacey Abrams was on disco, because Fox really got bent out of shape. Fox will use anything to get bent out of shape. And they just decided to pick on Star Trek. I don't know if it had anything to do with Stacey Abrams being on Discovery. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I guess because all of a sudden now they think maybe, oh my God, look, Star Trek, look what they're doing now. And it's no, sweeties, it's not what they're doing now. It's what they've always done. You're just not paying attention. So that's why George was bringing that to light, I think, just to show Fox, once again, their biased misinformation train is still chugging right along. So yeah, and I agree with you. It bugs the crap out of me, because remember their motto used to be fair and balanced. Fair and balanced to who? I doubt too many truckers watch Fox News anyway. This is also very true, but then again, so maybe they were just trying to get everybody else up in arms about this. Has yet acknowledged Deborah Winger's birthday is today. I have not, because I was not aware. Thank you, Lasso. I was not aware that Deborah Winger's birthday was today. Hashtag Slinky. Hashtag private joke. Hashtag Deborah Winger played Wonder Girl in 3 episodes of Wonder Woman, all in the first. He's going to correct. Nope, they were all in the first season. The feminine, whatever that medal was, feminine Mystique introduced Deborah Winger as an actor and introduced the character of Drusilla, who was Wonder Woman's sister, Diana's sister. So she was Diana's sister, Drew, aka Wonder Girl, Wonder Woman's sister. That was a 2-part episode with Carolyn Jones of Munsters fame playing the Queen, and then the season finale of the first season was Hollywood. I don't know what the episode title is, Lasso. Hollywood something, I think. You're going to correct me if I'm wrong. Did I say Munsters? You're right. Addams Family. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Yvonne Carlo. Yeah, thanks, Lasso. Always there for me. Carolyn Jones played, now I can't remember, Morticia Addams. And I like the Addams Family better than the Munsters. So I should be ashamed of myself. Anyway, so yes, Carolyn Jones played the mom in the first season. And yes, she was. If you're asking if Deborah Winger was only in 3 episodes, yes, she was only in 3 episodes because they did not bring the character back when they switched networks and bumped it up to the 70s. They did not bring her back. Oh, see, I was right. I was close. Wonder Woman in Hollywood. Thank you. Which also had Robert Hayes from Airplane. Was there anything else cool about that episode? Oh, it was Hollywood. I'm trying to think if there's a way to bring it around to Star Trek, if there's any way to bring that around to Star Trek. I don't know. Yes, Ted Cassidy, and he was in What Are Little Girls Made Of? TOS. Absolutely. I'm so glad I got to share this with you. I feel so much better. Maybe they hadn't seen any of Jean's interviews or a single episode, but it just makes me mad. Yeah, absolutely. It makes me bad. It makes it makes me mad too, Travis. Absolutely. And I'm glad we were able to make you feel better. That is absolutely what I'm here for. All right, Lasso. How do you dress in Hollywood? I don't know. Something slinky. What's slinky? Anyway, sorry. Lasso and I are having a moment. I actually do have the first season and the 3rd season on DVD. And the Corbinite Maneuver. Oh, I did not know he was in the Corbinite Maneuver. Thank you. That I was unaware of. I'm just trying to think if I can bring Wonder Woman and Deborah Winger episodes around to Star Trek. And I'm not sure that I mean, I could probably bring Wonder Woman around in other ways. Yeah, well, we can bring Wonder Woman around in other ways because Frank Gorshin was in an episode, and Frank Gorshin was in Let This Be Our Last Battlefield. But I'm not sure I can bring any of the Drusilla episodes around. I can bring them around to Buck Rogers, because Pamela Shoop was in Feminine Mystique, and she was also in an episode of Buck Rogers. Can bring that around to Batman, too. Frank Gorshin. Nope. I think I am out of steam on this one, but I might spend some time trying to think if any of those 3 Deborah Winger episodes. Well, hello, General Zod. My newest addition, General Zod's just wandered in. I don't know if I can get him to come and say hi. Do you want to come over and say hi? Come on. Come on. He's thinking about it, and now he's making a quick exit. He still hasn't gotten around to hanging out with his brothers and sisters yet, but hopefully that'll come. Oh, he was the voice of the puppet. Oh, neat. Okay. Don't ever watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Spock is a jerk. Too late. Been there, done that. You're right. He was an absolute jerk in that movie. Elliot Gould. Not Elliot. Donald Sutherland was in that movie. Jeff Goldblum, that's what I was thinking of for some reason. I think I went Elliot Gould because MASH with Donald Sutherland, the movie. There are a lot of notables in that one, but Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original, was really good. But yes, Leonard was a jerk in that movie. Absolutely. Totally agree. Wow. Usually you all know how good I am about bringing one show around and making it Trek related, but happy birthday to Deborah Winger. Oh, who was also an officer and a gentleman with Richard Gere. And she was in that really great show, The Ranch, which, unlike Desmond's, is on Netflix, with Sam Elliott. It was a good show. Still, you know what it is I don't know all the guest stars for those episodes except for Robert Hayes, and I know Robert Hayes doesn't have anything to do with Star Trek, so. But maybe that's some homework for next week if I can figure out a way to bring Wonder Woman, any of those 3 episodes around. Urban Cowboy. All right, Robert, you got to be a little more specific than Urban Cowboy because I don't know where that one's coming from. Anyway, so we've only got a couple shows left for the rest of. See, I've never seen Animal House. So nope. I think of him from MASH. I think of him from the MASH movie because Hawkeye Pierce is one of my favorite all-time characters in television. Alan Alda is actually on my bucket list. I would love to meet Alan Alda. Came really close. Just couldn't get it to happen. All right, so we've only got a couple episodes left for the season. I'm going to work on getting some guests to close out the season. Travis and everybody else that is out there, please get your questions ready. Go hit up the creation guest list, which last time I checked was up to 99 people. And as my rules always state, anybody who is listed as in the vendor's room is a possibility. I can't promise. There we go. Thank you. See, never saw Urban Cowboy either. Now that makes sense. Thanks, Robert. So I make no promises, but I can try. Thank you, Robert. You too. Travis, Nicole's always been a good egg about doing it, but the other challenge it's going to be this year is it is only a 4-day convention. So like last year with the lighter crowds and everything else that was going on with COVID, with losing a day, it might be hard to get people to want to spend time doing things other than sitting in the rooms doing the autographs. But we will see. Everybody keep their fingers crossed. I still do intend to ask Connor and Dominic those questions that I have from last year. If you have any questions for Anthony, that might be enough to spur him to do the show. He's been a little reticent. Doesn't mean I won't keep asking, because I will keep asking until he gives me a flat no. Travis, my pleasure. Thanks for hanging out as always. Everybody, you know what? I hope you all have a great week. And as always, I do this for you. So thank you so much for hanging out with me on this and every Monday night. And until I see you again, please remember to live long and prosper.
This is Nicole DeBoer, and you've been listening to the NX7062 podcast.